slightly different format of video today. This video is primarily because I'm struggling to record at the moment because of my job being so demanding, not finding the time to sit and do properly thought out videos. But a lot of what I want to say is something that is conversational. So I think being able to record in this way, make sure that I get content out, but also help connect with you and answer some of your questions. And this video is really around my most popular video on my channel actually, which is your co-workers are not your friends. And that's generated a lot of interest, a lot of conversation. I've been really glad and pleased to hear from people who've been in that situation. I mean, I've been in that situation and blurred the lines between professionalism and friendship. And a real common trend that's come from that, or I say question, is that, what happens if you've already gone there? Like, what do you do next? And that's what this video is going to be about, is how do you tackle when you've already crossed that line and you've already blurred the boundaries, and is there a way back from it, and how do you solve that? And I think it's fair to say, yes, there is a way back from that. And that's what I want to cover in this video, to say that, look, you may have already blurred the lines, but you can reset. And that's what this video is about. I think it's important first to start by getting a bit of like a reality check and grounding, because this is a very common thing that happens. We are in the workplace most often and not more than we are at home in our personal lives. We are in the workplace, or we're with our colleagues or talking to them as much as possible. And your colleagues aren't necessarily bad people. I mean, you can have toxic colleagues, but say the ones who are not toxic and are just generally nice people. But the issue is that the workplace is a place where it's a performance-based place. Everything you're doing is performance-based. At the very core of it, it's not a place where you can go and be vulnerable and, I would say, genuine to an extent, but it's more about your impact, your performance, your credibility, and how people perceive you. Those are the sort of core foundations of a workplace, and it's very different to any other social setting. So it's really important to remember that even in workplace environment where things are very pally, or maybe you've got a very relationship heavy work environment, whether you're working in retail or even in an office, or in a sort of public sector setting like a hospital, where there's a lot of interaction with people. Yes, you are being genuinely yourself, but at the same time you have to remember you're being measured on your performance. You're there to do a job, you're there to be respected, you want to be taken seriously, incredibly, and those are the foundations that you shouldn't forget in a workplace. And often we do forget those things, and we become relaxed, we let our guard down, maybe because we feel psychologically safe with the people we're around. We feel that we can just, I would say, take the brakes off a bit in thinking about work as a performance environment. And it's also important to remember that, in a work environment, I think there's a sense of belonging. You need to feel like you belong. You need to feel like there's a team around you, or people around you that get what you're trying to do, that can see the value you bring as well. So that belonging sometimes overpowers and drives more than what you're there to do. And that belonging is something that you hold on to. So it's really about kind of drawing a line there where the belonging is enough, but you're not overstepping into just this neediness where you need these people to be your friends, so to speak, as opposed to just colleagues that you work with. And it's really also telling, because in an environment like work, where you forget sometimes that it is work, and then something happens, so say there's a round of redundancies, or there's some office politics going on, you'll quickly see that those friendships flip. Because really, as I've mentioned before, when it comes down to it, it's a performance-based environment. And when you're put in a situation where, you either have to go head to head, or there's some sort of cuts going on, it's a dog-eat-dog world at that point. And, friendships go out the window. And that's a real sign to show you that, the work is not a place for friendships, to that extent, because you're there, you're getting paid, it's your livelihood, and it's your career on the line effectively. So those things are really important to remember, and it's how do you reset when you've gone too far and you think you've lost respect or you've lost credibility. But there are some steps, and that's what I want to go through now. So the first thing is, you don't have to admit this to anyone or say, look, I've been too I would say personal and not professional, now I'm just going to step back. You don't need to say anything to anyone, you just need to start doing it. So you just start to not share as much, or you start to really talk from a professional perspective, and maybe you go less on the vibe of what's going on with your team or the conversation that's happening around you, and you stick more in your professional zone. And slowly over time you'll see that you've reduced the amount you're sharing, and you started to sort of put in that boundary slowly. And if you do that in a sort of natural way, in a slow progressive way, it will not be something that people notice straight away. You don't have to announce it, but that's you taking control and making those steps to say, right, whatever's been shared so far, the line's been drawn now. I can't unshare what's been said, but what I can do is move forward and start putting a line in. And it's best to not announce that, just to get on and do it. And something that I've done often in this situation where I've overshared is to overcompensate in the other direction, and that is really be focused on over delivering, I would say. So in a situation where I felt that maybe what I did was become too friendly, lost credibility, what I started to do was just over deliver. And I think that's a really good thing to do, especially even in the short term. It's not something you have to do all the time, but in the short term, what you can do is just start to over deliver on the work you're doing. Maybe go the extra mile, or maybe make sure you're doing work that's impactful, that can be shared to senior leaders, because instantly that resets a lot of relationships. It puts you back up there as someone who's valued. It puts you in the spotlight in terms of credibility as well with your peers. So really focus on just over delivering and making sure people see that work, and that really speaks volumes. It's probably the biggest thing you can do just to reset. Also, your time is your time. So in the past, when you've overshared, what you may have done is just spent too much time with people that you didn't really need to spend that time. You could have spent that time either working on your career, working on your tasks, working on something, networking with other people that are important in the business. But really, you need to reclaim your time, and you need to take your time back and take control of your time. And that reduction in time with those individuals where you've overshared, that is going to massively impact you in a good way if you start reclaiming your time, using it the right way to over deliver and to do these things. But be mindful of your time. You don't always have to go out for that drink after work. You don't always have to have lunch with the same people and gossip about stuff, or you can do things very differently. And again, it's really important to not announce these things, just to do it and just to start showing that you've kind of switched. Because in the workplace setting, no one's going to turn around and go, oh, well, we're friends, you're meant to do this, you're meant to come up to lunch with us, you're meant to do. In a work setting, you are in control of your time. It's your job. It's your, you're getting paid to do a job, and you can control your time the way you need to, really. So that's really important, I think, for you to not feel like you have to do it for others. And then in time, whilst you start to reclaim your time, you'll also start to kind of drop the banter, because a lot of the time, and this is probably coming from my personal experience, when I've been in like a retail job, or even when I worked in a hospital, there was a lot of banter. There was a lot of kind of joking around, and even in front of management, you got really relaxed where you're just having a laugh, but you're doing a good job as well. But the visibility is around you always being sort of jovial, or like, doing the banter stuff. So what you want to do is sort of switch that around as well. So you're not always having banter, and you're not always being known as that person who just speaks up to say something that's not actually valuable, but it's just funny. So that's a shift that needs to be very conscious as well, so that when you do, say you're in a team meeting or you've got a suggestion, your suggestion isn't taken seriously sometimes when it's just surrounded by all the jokes and the kind of lightheartedness you've been used to. So you need to kind of slowly train yourself to have impactful contributions to meetings, maybe come up with really good ideas that will help people either improve the quality of what they do, save time. That sort of stuff doesn't go unnoticed, and then you're saying it in the right form in front of the right people with the right management, etc. That's a really important thing to do as well. And I think over time these small changes slowly start to put this professional boundary around you, and the people that you are jovial with and friends with, you're still communicating with them. There's nothing wrong there, but you're also not being the sort of unprofessional, and lost integrity in the workplace as well doing that. So I think it's really important that you try to steer away from just that sort of relaxed, jovial vibe as well. And another thing is, you don't have to apologize for this. You've done nothing wrong. So in this situation, you don't need to apologize to anyone, say, oh, you know what, I'm going to be more professional now. I'm sorry, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I want to be more professional. I mean, that's probably the worst thing you can do. You just elevate yourself. You don't announce it. You just elevate yourself. Don't apologize. Just keep doing the right thing, moving in the right direction, having those right conversations, boundaries, etc. Overcompensating a little bit in the beginning, maybe by doing more work, going the extra mile. All of those things, they all add up. They're all small things, but you don't ever have to announce yourself to anyone or apologize to anyone or feel like it's something that you need permission from someone else to do. And it's because it's your career. Take control of it. And that's a big mind shift set. And I think that mindset of shifting into this boundary way of working actually helps you further on in your career. So say you're junior, you're mid-level, and I think majority of people who watch my videos are sort of mid in their career. That skill set is what takes you to the next level, is that professionalism and that boundary setting, and it helps you get to that next level. It gives you that credibility and it accelerates you getting to that next level. So it's not lost. Not all is not lost if this has happened and you've already gone too far with your co-workers. Try and reset and try and take on these tips that I've just discussed here, and I guarantee you'll start to see changes. You'll start to see changes in your performance, but also how you're perceived at work. And every career has a time scale and a time limit as well. You should never go into a job thinking that this is my job for life. If you want to growth, it doesn't always happen in the same place, and that's something you have to accept as well. So if you try this and it's you can improve to an extent, but it's not taking you as far as you want to go, then take control of your career and start to take the next step, even if that next step is outside of the job you're in. You have to drive that yourself, and don't always look for that in the workplace you're in as well. So it's not all lost. I think, co-workers are a massive part of your day-to-day in your job. They cause you good times, bad times, but also, can impact the way you grow your career as well. So I hope this video has been useful, and I'm going to try and record more sort of conversational style videos like this where I answer your questions, and any questions you do have, drop them in the comments as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions and learn from my own experience, really, of what I've gone through to get to where I am now, especially in a dog eat dog corporate environment as investment banking is. So yeah, really happy to answer your questions, and thank you for watching.